good things always take time. Build consistently, be patient is what I would say. Remember the bigger picture. There's gonna be so many just like stressful things that come your way and so many days where you're just like, why am I doing this? Like, actually, why am I doing this to myself? Like, in a sense, it is kind of easier to work a corporate job in a sense, because maybe you're selling your soul a little bit, but it's like so clear cut what you have to do. And like when you run a business, it's all on you. Something needs to be done and you're not doing it. It's not gonna get done because you need to do it. So just like remember the bigger picture of like, why did you start this? And like, why are you passionate about this? Like, keep going back to that bigger picture and like, remember the why. Remember why you're doing this.
Hi everyone, it's Vivian. Today I'm joined by the amazing...
Hi, I'm Tzila. I'm the designer and founder of Zito, my clothing line, which is right behind me.
And on us.
Yes, you look very cute in your Zito look.
Thank you.
And I am also wearing Zito.
Yeah.
Of course.
Super excited to talk to you today about your journey, how you managed to create so many beautiful pieces, and how you started your own brand, how you quit your corporate job, which you were very burned out from. Without further ado, So without further ado, would you like to share a little bit about your journey?
So I started actually not in fashion school, but I started studying psychology. So I got my bachelor's in psychology because I was initially thinking to be an art therapist, not a fashion designer. I mean, I kind of like had both in my head, but I ended up just going for psychology on the path to art therapy. And then when I finished my bachelor's, I was like, never mind, actually I want to do fashion. So I got my master's in fashion marketing at LIM College. Yeah, so that's like when my fashion experience began. So I started there, and then I was, at the same time, I was interning at Alex NYC. I was also a fit model. I don't know if you know that, but
What is a fit model?
So it's kind of like, imagine the process of like when you're trying to make sure that the garment looks good on like a human form. Because like, you know, it's one thing to just like sketch something out, but you want to make sure that it has like the perfect fit, you know, makes the customer feel confident and beautiful. So it's kind of like working with fit models of various sizes to make sure that with each size, like this piece is looking perfect and not creasing in the wrong places, etc. Kind of like a human mannequin, I guess. Started it when I was studying psychology, actually. So I guess that's really my intro into fashion. And there's a lot of like behind the scenes that you get to see, which is cool, because like I was like getting like pinned into clothing, and then you see like the factory was kind of like in-house. So the designer would just kind of like go next door to the factory and be like, oh, this needs to be taken in. It's too large here. And then I just like take off the dress, and then they're just like sewing it, and then I put it back on. Like it's a lot of that. That's like where I dipped my toes into fashion. And then going for my master's in fashion marketing, and then I was interning, which I mentioned at Alex NYC, and then I worked at Club Monaco for a little bit. But then COVID hit, so I was without a job and bored at home. I went back to my parents for a bit. Yeah, during that time, I kind of like started missing my creative roots, just like drawing. Like as a kid, like I used to draw so much, like you couldn't stop me drawing. Like I literally have like a picture of myself when I was like a toddler, and I had like 2 pens in my hand, and I was just like drawing in the high chair. Like I love drawing, and like I didn't have so much of that like in my experiences at like, you know, places like Club Monaco. It was more like on the business side of fashion. My degree was the business side of fashion. So I taught myself how to use Adobe Illustrator and just like how to digitally sketch, which was like really new to me. But yeah, I taught myself how to do that. And then I started just like for fun, like reaching out to like influencers and being like, hey, do you want me to draw a picture of you, or like for free? And they're like, okay, sure. And they'll like use it as their like profile picture or whatever they would do with it. And I would get like experience this way, just like learning how to use Illustrator. So that was kind of what led me to then like start taking clients and actually doing that as a freelance gig. My next step in my career was like print design. Like once I taught myself how to use Adobe Illustrator, it was pretty easy. I mean, there was definitely a learning curve, but it wasn't too too far from illustrating to learn print design. So then I learned print design. I took on a few clients. I worked with brands like Tanner Fletcher. I wanted to make print design more like a full-time thing, not just freelance and like, you know, get some more money, because like freelancing is kind of like not so stable. So I saw this job at Victoria's Secret for a surface design role, which is kind of like print design. So yeah, so I started with that, and then there was like this whole like company restructuring where they kind of just like moved everyone around. I got moved to the design team, so I went from print design to like designing lingerie, bras, panties, a little bit of some sleep pieces. But yeah, I guess really went like all around the fashion world in a sense, like fit, model, business side of fashion, print design, and then really led me back to my true passion of like designing pieces of clothing. Fast forward to today, I quit my corporate job, and now I'm just full-time working on my fashion brand, kind of doing my own thing.
So what finally motivated you to quit your corporate job? Because for me, it feels very scary to lose the stability, the health insurance, all the benefits, and, you know, like paycheck every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So what finally motivated you to take the leap?
Yeah, that's valid. I feel like the stability is the one good thing about working corporate. In my opinion, the only good thing. Yeah. But yeah, I think like for me, ultimately, like my mental health was being too affected. So I had to really step back and think about why I'm doing this if I'm so unhappy doing it. I think that what ended up happening is that I came in to the fashion world, to corporate fashion, with a lot of excitement, a lot of ideas, a lot of just like joy for fashion. And I think that just slowly, not trying to be dramatic, like my dreams were crushed kind of thing, but not actually, because clearly I'm still working in fashion. But I think from like a corporate fashion perspective, I just was feeling really burnt out. As an introvert, just like talking to people in the office all the time, and just office culture, and there definitely was, you know, a bit of toxicity with corporate culture in general. And I think corporate fashion can definitely have a lot of toxicity and like a lot of like a mean girl energy,
like the devil wears Prada vibe.
Yeah, but yeah, and like weirdly I felt a little bit like I was in high school again. Just that energy of like being nice to each other, but in like a really fake way.
Have you watched The White Lotus?
Yes.
Like the three girlfriends?
Yes. Exactly. That was the best example I could ever think of. Yes. Just like that. Yeah, I was just like ready to feel more like myself and do something that actually like brought me joy. And I'm the type of person that like is so frugal and always saving their money. So I was just like at a certain point, like I'm just taking a risk. I'm just gonna like start saving, and like it was definitely in the back of my mind to do that. But I didn't think I would actually do it until the moment that I like quit, and I didn't give 2 weeks notice. I just quit.
Oh, you rage quit?
I rage quit. I'm so Gen Z.
Now I'm interested. I didn't know you rage quit.
I rage quit.
Wait, how can you like describe what happened the day before and the day of? Okay, what happened?
You want the tea?
Yeah, I want the tea.
The day before is actually the day that I decided. Okay, so on a Sunday, the day before I quit, I went with Crystal, my girlfriend, to Red Hook. There was something about that day. Like, I actually haven't thought about it in such detail for like a while, but I'm realizing that it was very symbolic because we were on this ferry, and like where it left from was like Wall Street, and that was like near where my corporate job was located. Like, I know it's kind of weird to have a corporate fashion job in Wall Street, but that's where it was. It was not in the fashion district, it was on Wall Street. That's where we caught the ferry, and as we were leaving, I saw the building like get further and further away. And I was just like, I suddenly realized that I had the option to quit. Like, I didn't really give myself that full option, even though I was kind of like mentally thinking the whole time. Like, I always came into it thinking, like, I'm doing this for the bigger picture. Like, I'm doing this because I want to eventually quit and build my brand. Like, I wasn't going into it like, I'm going to climb the corporate ladder. Like, my dream is to be VP of sales, marketing, or design, any of it. Like, it was not my, that wasn't really my goal. But there was something about that moment where I actually gave myself permission to realize that, like, maybe corporate fashion's not for me.
And then what happened on the day you went into the office?
Yeah. Okay, so it was a work from home day.
Oh.
I wasn't, yeah, we were like hybrid, so some days we worked from home. I got on the phone with my director. Yeah, I told her that I don't feel like I don't see myself having a future at this company. And that was it. And that I was going to resign. And then I kind of just like asked her like the process about it. She seemed really surprised. I don't know if she was, but she seemed really surprised. I remember her asking, or maybe it was a coworker that asked like, oh, when's your last day? Like, is Friday your last day? And I'm like, no, today. Today's my last day. So that's kind of how it went down. And then like literally the next day I was like meeting up with HR to give them my laptop, and then the week after that I had an exit interview with HR.
Oh, that's super cool. I always dreamed of doing that, like rage quitting.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much for sharing. And I wonder if you had run into any challenges in the beginning when you started your brand full time.
Definitely challenges, and I think that most of them were internal challenges, because I did launch in 2022, and even though I wasn't able to give my brand my all, I did have some experience with like, you know, the production process and fabric sampling and all that. So I think like the actual process didn't scare me so much. It was more just like fighting off my internal voices and just like anxiety. Like, I'm the type of person that has anxiety about like everything, overthinks everything, and just like, I guess also imposter syndrome that also came from working corporate in a way. Like, I feel like my confidence kind of dwindled after like not feeling like my full self and being around that kind of like energy that I was around. So I think it was like a challenge to rebuild that part of myself, and like that took some time. And I think also what was really challenging was figuring out how to make my own schedule all of a sudden, and not just being like given a schedule. Because like, while I am mostly a type A person, I definitely have some type B in me too. Like, I always felt like some sort of like weird mixture where it's like, I want to rebel against my own schedule that I carefully curated, because I'm like, no, like, I'm not in corporate anymore. I'm going to do what I want. So there was a lot of like, you know, thinking about the bigger picture and like, why am I doing this? And like really sticking to my plan. But then once I got into it. But that was like my main two struggles in the beginning, I would say.
Yeah, how did you overcome them?
Well, I think like what really helped was also having a business consultant. Yeah, I hired a business consultant. She's actually based in the UK. So we have like little Zoom chats and stuff, and we're always like voice noting each other. So I think that type of support is really helpful for someone that has anxiety. So it'll be about like every little thing, like how my hang tag looks. I'll like send her a picture and be like, what do you think, Charlotte? Like, you know, so I think that kind of like hand holding was really helpful for someone that has a lot of anxiety about everything. And with the scheduling, I think that it was like, I'm still figuring it out, but I think it's really about knowing yourself super well. Like, are you a morning person? Are you an afternoon person? I'm personally an afternoon person. I get my best work done in the afternoon. Like, in the morning, I usually take it a bit slow. I like to meditate and journal and like do some yoga. That's not to say I don't work in the morning. I do, unfortunately. But I would say my most productive work and when I hit my flow is like the afternoon. So I think it's just like knowing yourself. So I got to know that part of myself and just kind of like tested certain things out, pivoted, tested, still pivoting, figuring it out. But I like to utilize Google Docs, of course. That's like, it's a good one. I'd like to list out like my quarterly goals and then kind of break them up into just like tangible bite-sized pieces. And I find that the more I break down goals and tasks, the more efficient I am during the week and like day to day and managing my schedule.
So you had your first launch in 2022.
Yeah.
Do you remember running into any hurdles or challenges at that time? And if you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself? And what tips would you give yourself?
I mean, there was a few. I think like because it was my first time working with a factory, that was something a little challenging, like not having the support that I have now with my business consultant. Like I had to kind of shoulder that all myself and figure out how to best communicate with my factory when running into issues. I think that was like a really big challenge. And I think that if I could say something to that version of myself, I would try to like give her a little more confidence. Like I always feel like I don't know what I'm doing is my general feeling, but then I kind of look back and I'm like, seems like I kind of knew though. Like, you know, I kind of want to like give her a little pat on the back. And I was like, okay, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, but I would give some constructive criticism to 2022 me. Kind of tell her to be a little less afraid and not like put the brand in a box. Like I feel like when I first launched the brand, I had like a very clear vision of what I wanted it to be, but almost like too clear where there wasn't room for like creativity in a way. Like I feel like I limited myself too much, and like now how I think of it is like my brand DNA will always be like in the tailoring, and I always want that to be what my brand is about. Really strong tailoring and leaning more into avant-garde as I continue designing. But I started with creating pieces. Like actually the piece that you're wearing right now is my first design that I've ever made.
The skirt?
Yes, the skirt, and I have it in white with a little tie. Yeah, this was like my first design idea. Like I had this concept of like reinventing the button-down shirt and making it into like a skirt. And what's really cool, I just had a customer buy a piece like this and she wore it as a dress, like as a strapless dress.
Oh, like
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she like sized up and like just wore it as a dress, which I think is so smart. I didn't even think of that. So pretty versatile. But yeah, this was my first design, and then I just made it in this vegan leather version that you're wearing right now.
Oh, but without the tie.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So meet business policies and meet code of conduct.
So I assume when you started your side hustle, you were still working corporate?
Yes.
And how did you manage your time and your mental health when you were juggling both?
That's a good question. I feel like I didn't manage it all that well, I would say. I think, I mean, one of the things that always helps me when it comes to just like managing anything is like first and foremost taking care of my internal self. So just like, you know, meditating before work. Like I have this one meditation that I still listen to till this day. It's on Headspace. It's called like Morning Pause, and I listen to it almost every day, especially when I was working corporate, because I felt like I needed it even more. And it's like this guided meditation, like before you start your day of calls or whatever responsibilities you have, you will take 10 breaths with me today, or something like that. And you just like take your 10 breaths. So I think that helped me in terms of like the health aspect of it and like making time for myself. But I think in terms of like juggling my brand and corporate, I wish I could do a better job, but also I think it's kind of impossible, maybe. But I know people do it. So I think that you just have to really know yourself. I think you have to know if you're a really high energy person or not. And I think that given being an introvert working in a corporate world, that can be very demanding and really diminish your energy and like leave you feeling really drained to then come home and be like, okay, I'm gonna work on my fashion brand now. Like that was really hard. So I would just like end up scheduling a lot of my content, trying to streamline as much as possible so that I didn't have to actively juggle all the time. It was kind of like planning the fashion brand by month, but I wish that I, you know, could have dedicated more time to my brand. But I think I'm also the type of person that like when I'm doing something, I'm so all in into that one thing that I think when I was starting corporate fashion, like I just went all in on corporate fashion. So I don't know if I have such good advice about juggling, but that was my experience with juggling both.
So streamlining, batching
Yeah.
your content, and the morning meditation.
Yeah, lifesaver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also think, like you said, I don't think corporate job is for everyone, but since it's so common and it's like a path that society has forged for us and, kind of spoon feed us since we're so little that, you're going to grow up and you're going to work at a company.
Yeah.
And you're going to, move up the ladder.
So true.
It's kind of hard to think about doing anything else besides corporate job, but now I realize not everyone is made for a corporate lifestyle. I think a lot of people are actually not suitable for working in a company or in that structure. So
yeah, I think so too. And I think that because it's so part of society, like you were saying, it makes you feel like I don't know, is there something wrong with me? Like, why is this not, fitting? Why isn't this working? And you try to make it work, and I think it seems so scary too, to do anything other than that because it's so mainstream.
So since we're on this topic, would you recommend people to keep their side hustle while working their corporate job? Or would you recommend people to just quit and go all in?
I think it really is going to have to do with someone's financial situation. At the time, just to, keep it real, not everyone can just quit, and it's really scary to do that financially. But I think that if it's a matter of your mental health suffering to a certain level, you really kind of have to ask yourself, how much is this affecting me mentally? Can I kind of continue this? Is it sustainable long term? I think that's the main question you have to ask. Is this sustainable long term? Am I juggling my side hustle? Am I prioritizing it enough? Or is this job so consuming and just consuming all of my time and energy that I'm not able to do my side hustle? Then maybe it's about either having a different job while doing your side hustle, or just having that in the back of your mind and saving actively to a point where you can just kind of take a chance on yourself. But that's hard to do, especially if you live in New York City, but kind of doable. But it's definitely very challenging, and I think that it's just about asking yourself and also really knowing yourself. If you have an entrepreneurial kind of spirit and you can truly take this on full time, take it totally seriously as if this is your 9 to 5, then maybe take that chance, do it. But I think that if you still kind of need that structure and you're kind of balancing it okay, then maybe it's about staying for a while. Yeah, I think really know yourself before you make that decision, because it could be tough from a financial perspective.
Why don't you share a little bit about how your day looks like now as a full-time fashion designer owning your own brand?
Definitely every day looks different, I would say, and definitely so many things that I do that I wouldn't know that I would have to do. I knew I wouldn't be sketching all day, but I think I didn't realize how much content creation goes into running your brand and admin and all of that. Yeah, doing math, even having spreadsheets for my cogs and all these things, because I don't really outsource so much. I really just kind of work. It's me, my business consultant, and then only when I'm kind of, collaborating with other creatives for photo shoots and all of that. But for the most part, I'm kind of doing all that admin and content creation. So that's kind of what goes on a day to day. But then if I'm in a season where I'm designing for the next collection, how I am right now, it's a little more fun. So there's more sketching, fabric sourcing. I'm working on 2 custom pieces right now. So kind of just working with a client, making sure they like the sketches, doing a few revisions, thinking about the finishings, fabric sourcing that I have to do tomorrow. Yeah, I would say for the most part, every day is different, but my weeks are always focused on marketing, sales, product, and product meaning just designing the product and all that entails.
People always say when you have your own brand, you think about it 24/7. It's not like having a corporate job. You can shut your brain off after you leave the office or on the weekends. Is it the same for you? And how do you draw boundaries?
Definitely think about my brand 24/7 for sure. But you know what? In a way, I think that's just like how it is. Like when you're passionate about something. I mean, I used to kind of fight it, I would say. I used to be the type of person that used to like fight that part of me that can kind of, I'm not an obsessive person, I would say, but like when I'm passionate about something, like I'm thinking about it all the time. And I think I used to like fight that more. I used to fight that nature, and now I'm just kind of leaning into it, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I kind of do think about my brand 24/7, and I don't know that I have like the best boundaries. But I would so much rather be just like endlessly passionate about what I'm doing and just never running out of ideas than kind of like being able to shut my laptop at the end of the day. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. I'm still able to just like, you know, enjoy a show and not think about Zito. Like I do have a life outside of this for sure. Although I'm an introvert, I do have a social life and I prioritize it. Like I'll go out with my partner over the weekend, we'll see friends.
So it seems like you enjoy your work so much, it doesn't really gives you the same feeling as a corporate job. Because you actually like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely different feeling. It still sometimes feels like work. Like, you know how they say, what's that saying? Like, if you choose a job you love, you never work a day in your life or whatever, you know. But, I mean, it's still work. And there's still sometimes, you know, days when I would rather just binge watch TV than do what I have to do for sure. Like, I'm human. But I think just overall, when you have, like, a passion that fuels you, like, it's okay if you're thinking about it all the time, I think. It's just about knowing, like, you know, like for the weekends, for the most part, I don't work. I try to really, that's kind of like a boundary that I cross for myself. And if I am doing work, it has to be like creative work. Like it has to be like sketching.
Okay, something you truly enjoy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or like going around the city to collect inspiration, or like going to the Met. Like, you know, like I love going to the Met, things like that. Which, like, technically you can say I'm doing it for work, but it's fun. So.
Yeah, you would do it anyways
exactly.
If you have a full-time job.
Exactly.
Okay. Would you like to share a little bit about your creative process, how you came up with this line and the launch and your brand, and what inspired you?
I really tried to do it. I feel like my process is the opposite of how I did it in corporate fashion. Like, in corporate, it's at least the experience that I had. I don't know if every brand does it this way, but it was like mood boarding and just like pulling inspiration from other brands and from Pinterest and like, I don't want to say ripping off other brands, but getting very heavily inspired by other brands and what other influencers are wearing, and just general inspiration that doesn't first come from like a brand forward place of like, what is the brand identity, what do we stand for? And I guess that's also kind of like a fast fashion problem too. So I tried to really do the opposite of that and design from a place that's really like internal and has to do with my just like current experiences or past experiences. Like I feel that my collections in some way, or like this is my first like full collection, and this one specifically really mirrors like my experience working in corporate. Hence like the blazers and all this like workwear that's very like deconstructed, ripped apart, put back together. That's very like symbolic of my journey. So I think that what I try to do is I first do a lot of sketching and a lot of reflecting. It's almost like a meditative process in a way of like just sitting with like my feelings and sitting with like, who am I? Who is my brand? What do I want to say? And then I'll kind of mood board afterwards to pull more inspiration of like, how do I want to finish things? And like, what type of buttons do I want to use? And what type of like things like that. So I would say that it's like sketching, then mood boarding, then starting like the sampling process. And sometimes that kind of like creative process like continues past. It's not like the sample is made and then it's good to go. Like it's usually much more like, you know, rough than that. So it'll like, the sample will be made and then I don't like something and then I have to pivot something and then I'm going back to sketching and then I'm like, no, this is the one. And then a lot of times it's actually something that I sketched after that works better, or just kind of like going back and forth. And I also just like to kind of like soak in inspiration from like everything. Yeah, I really try to come from a place that's very like genuine and from me versus just like pulling what I've seen someone else do.
Movies, books, or arts that inspired you that you want people to look at or check out?
I would say number one inspiration in terms of books is it's kind of like a fashion book, but Alexander McQueen. So I'm actually looking at the book right over there, Savage Beauty. So that was a book that my sister actually bought it for me at the exhibit that was on at the Met. It was a crazy exhibit. Like I was really young at that time, and I felt like that was one of the things that made me so drawn to fashion, was that like experience of seeing that it can come from like a very raw place. Like I feel like Alexander McQueen himself like always designed from a true place and from a place of like wanting to say something, and I really felt that through the pieces. Like I felt like an emotional experience, and then getting that book, like that is a very influential book for me in terms of just like gathering inspiration. I also try to go to the Met like once a quarter. I also am very heavily inspired by movies, like old Hollywood movies. Like I grew up watching like Alfred Hitchcock movies. Have you ever watched those, like Vertigo?
So probably.
You should give it a watch. Like it's interesting to see like how life was very different back then, so you kind of like take it with like a grain of salt. And like I wouldn't want to be a gay woman in the 50s, but like the fashion inspiration and just like the cinematography, like everything is just I get a lot of inspiration from those like classic suits, like the skirt suits and just the tailoring. You know, I'm a sucker for tailoring. So yeah, those are like my main inspirations.
Do you have any advice for aspiring fashion designers or people who want to start their own fashion brand?
I feel like the advice that I would give is like advice that I would give myself as well right now is to be patient. Like good things always take time. It's hard because I feel like on social media especially, it is so easy to play the comparison game, but you don't know that person's history. You don't know that brand's history. You don't know the struggles they face, and it's so easy to just look and compare. But I think it's just so much healthier and so much better for your mental health, and my mental health I know is so much better when I kind of like create more than I consume and try to like be patient with the process and with the growth process, because it's not automatic that just, you know, so many people come across your video and you go viral like that. You know, I've had videos that go viral, but that doesn't suddenly also change your life. Like, you know, it's funny. I think you gotta be patient. Like, it's not just, and also you don't want to be like a one-hit wonder. Like, oh, you did something great and you went viral for it, and like, now what? Build consistently, be patient is what I would say. I think I'd also say like, remember the bigger picture. Like, because there's gonna be so many just like stressful things that come your way, and so many days where you're just like, why am I doing this? Like, actually, why am I doing this to myself? Like, in a sense, it is kind of easier to work a corporate job in a sense, because maybe you're selling your soul a little bit, but it's like so clear cut what you have to do. And like when you run a business, it's all on you. Like if you're not doing, if something needs to be done and you're not doing it, it's not gonna get done because you need to do it. So just like remember the bigger picture of like, why did you start this? And like, why are you passionate about this? Like keep going back to that bigger picture and like, remember the why, remember why you're doing this. Oh, and one last thing I'll say is, for anyone starting a fashion brand, the one advice I would also give is to definitely be frugal. And like that also, again, obviously depends on the financial situation, but I would say for myself, that's something that helps me is like, maybe I don't spend so much money on myself, and I guess it ties back to the bigger picture thinking. It's like, yeah, maybe right now I'm not traveling a lot, I'm not really buying myself clothing, but like this is the bigger picture of like what we're doing and what we feel so passionate about. So, you know, if you have to like live a little smaller to one day live a little larger, that's like, I feel like that's a perspective that kind of keeps me going.
Do Do you have any exciting future plans or anything coming out recently, and where can people find you?
Well, you can find my newest collection that just launched less than a month ago, the 328 collection that's right behind me. That's on ZitoNYC.com, and then I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Zito_NYC. And I do have plans for my next collection. I'm working on it. I don't have a set date yet, but I am working also on a two custom pieces that we'll share some pictures of soon. I would say maybe like in the next few months or so.
Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you so much for being so generous about sharing your journey and your experiences too. And I am so happy to see your new collection coming out, and I can't wait to see what you have and what you're brewing right now. And yeah, can't wait to see more of your work in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you for like these like thoughtful questions that are just like I feel like I just like bared my soul, but I don't know, this was so fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.